everyone. Hi, I'm Dr. Tharp. I am an internal medicine doctor and I'm on a mission to help women reverse prediabetes and type 2 diabetes naturally. So the key word there is naturally. So, tonight, every night I do this series and I empower you with information that you can use, you can implement into your lifestyle to make changes and to see a difference with your blood sugars. So, if your diabetes, if worry about your diabetes is keeping you up at night, if you're frustrated because you feel like you've been trying a lot of things and it's not working, if you feel like you don't have a real understanding of how to manage your blood sugars, I can tell you that this is where you want to be. Okay, this is for you. So get your notepads out and take down some of these points and make it your challenge to implement at least one or two of these tips into your life, into your daily life. And I promise that you will see changes with your blood sugar. So I go by what I call the freedom formula. And so I'm going to go through each step. And in each of those steps, there's something there that you can use. Okay. So the first big one is not going to be of any surprise to you, and that is nutrition. You have to treat your food as medicine. Okay. So if you want to naturally, keyword, naturally reverse prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, then this is really the only way to do it, right? The only way to do it is through your lifestyle, is by making adjustments. And the first big adjustment that you have to make is your mindset. You have to view food differently. And so you have to view food as medicine. Food is what you're going to use to turn your numbers back, to improve your numbers. And in order to do that, there are things that you're going to have to let go of. There are foods that you're going to have to let go of. Does that mean you're going to feel restricted? Does that mean you're going to feel starved? Absolutely not. So treating your food as medicine is one of the biggest steps that you're going to have to make. And so when you treat your food as medicine, you realize very quickly that there's just certain foods that you're going to have to let go of. Okay. So when you treat your food as medicine, there are three main categories of foods that you have to focus on. And we call those your macronutrients. So protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Those are your three macronutrients that you really need to focus on and you need to optimize in order to successfully reverse your insulin resistance. So let's talk about carbohydrates first, because diabetes, insulin resistance, prediabetes, it's a disease of carbohydrate metabolism. Okay, we have trouble making we have trouble with our insulin, or our cells aren't responding very well to insulin to break down the glucose that's in our bloodstream. And so that's why you have high blood sugars. Okay. So obviously, if our bodies can't manage carbohydrates that we're eating, we have to, number one, get rid of the excess carbohydrates, right? So one of the biggest steps that you're going to have to take if you're going to reverse insulin resistance is you have to decrease your carbohydrates. Now, what the average diet here in America consumes about 200 grams of carbohydrates daily. That is a lot of carbohydrates, and no wonder so many people suffer with insulin resistance. So, you're going to have to do an audit of how much carbohydrates you're eating, and you want to cut back. The second step that you're going to take when it comes to carbohydrates is you're going to assess the quality of the carbohydrates that you're eating. Okay. So when I say quality, I'm going to use that one, very obvious foods, right? Foods that are commonly known as that will worsen your blood sugar is white rice and white bread. Okay, so those are the two I'm going to use because those are most commonly known. So those are the carbohydrates that are low quality. They don't serve your body in any way. They're stripped of all nutritional value, and they spike your blood sugar tremendously. Okay, so obviously you want to eliminate the low quality carbohydrates from your diet, and you want to put in high quality carbohydrates. Okay, so that is the key. So that's one big takeaway I want you to have tonight. Cut back on your carbohydrates and implement high quality carbohydrates. So what are high quality carbohydrates? Natural. So think of things like sweet potato. Okay, that's a complex carbohydrate. It's high in fiber as well. And we're going to talk about fiber in a little bit. And it's in its natural form. You just pop a sweet potato in the oven, bake it for, half an hour, 45 minutes. You have a great carbohydrate that you can use as a side. So get rid of the junky carbohydrates and put in high fiber, complex carbohydrates. Now, if you're somebody who loves bread, okay, bread is definitely a problem when it comes to prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. And I'm going to even whole wheat bread is a problem, believe it or not. I know whole wheat bread is marketed as healthy, but again, there are people that will say that and put that label on the packaging to get it off of the shelf to sell it. But whole wheat bread is not a whole lot better than white bread. The key is you want to pick up whole wheat bread that has a good fiber content. So if you're picking your bread, make sure it's very high in fiber, okay? And the other good option for as a bread source is Ezekiel bread. Ezekiel bread is an excellent source. It's less processed. And I want you guys to know, as a hint, you're not going to find Ezekiel bread in the regular bakery section, okay, of the supermarket or the bread aisle. You're going to find that in the freezer section. So it's an excellent bread Ezekiel bread is an excellent option if you're going to stick with bread. It's an excellent option, an excellent substitute when it comes to your typical white bread or even the commonplace whole wheat bread. So you want high quality carbohydrates, carbohydrates that have lots of vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, like your sweet potato, and it has lots of fiber. So carbohydrates, cut back, and you will see a difference with your blood sugars. Now, when we look at the other macronutrients, fats and protein, if you're going to be cutting down on your carbohydrates, the next thing you want to do is make sure you're going up on your protein. Protein is another really important tool when it comes to blunting blood sugar spikes. Now, when I say protein, I'm not talking about low quality options like bacon, or I'm not talking about just having one egg in the morning. I'm not talking about having sausages. Those are low quality sources of protein. You want to go for high quality sources of protein, such as your chicken breast, your turkey, your ground chicken. So those are the options that work best, high quality. Okay, that is the key. So the processed meats don't necessarily count or benefit you as much when it comes to controlling blood sugar. So high quality protein, make sure you're getting that in every meal. Now, the next one are your healthy fats. Okay, so fat is important. We all need fat in our diet. So don't cut fat out. So a lot of the times when one something I've seen is people tend to go on these very low fat diets, or they become vegetarians. They cut protein, the quality protein sources are cut out because they become vegetarians, and things just get worse, or the numbers just stay the same and they ask why. So it's really not about cutting back or eliminating one particular macronutrient, right? We all need carbohydrates, we all need fats, and we all need protein. But when it comes to fats, you want to focus on your good fat. And your good fats are your avocados, your olive oil, your avocado oil, your seeds, and your nuts. So those are excellent sources of good fat. So remember, you have to get fat in your diet. If you're going to cut down on your carbs, then you want to go up a little bit on your good fats, and that's the key, good fats and your protein. Okay. Now, it's important to understand what good fats are. You only include those as your fat source, and you're going to get rid of the bad fat sources. So your bad fat sources are your saturated fats and the fats that are in baked goods that are in processed foods. You don't want to be using vegetable oil or canola oil because, again, those are highly processed and inflammatory. So you want to only use healthy fats in your diet. Now, one last adjustment that you absolutely need to make, and you're going to see a huge difference with your blood sugar, is you need to get fiber in your diet. And you need to get at least 25 grams of fiber daily in your diet. So pay attention to fiber content. One step that you can take is do an audit of the food you had today, for example, and figure out how much fiber was in the food. Look at the nutrition labels. You will be surprised at how very little fiber you're getting in your diet. You need 25 grams of fiber daily. So get your fiber in 25 grams daily. Good fiber sources are your vegetables, complex carbohydrates. You can use flax seeds as another source. You can add it to your salads, your yogurt, and those are good sources of fiber as well. But you must be getting fiber in your diet. So that pretty much sums up, some changes that you can implement. I challenge you to do that this week, and I promise you, you will see changes. Now, the other step that you're going to have to think about is something called body recomposition, and it's very difficult to cover body recomposition in its entirety here. It can be complicated, but body recomposition in simple terms is making sure that you're trimming fat tissue from your body and you're putting muscle on your body. And you achieve that through resistance training. So resistance training is something you should implement. What's resistance training? It's basically lifting weights. It's doing something that's going to challenge your muscles. So if you're doing resistance band training, or you're lifting some weights, you have dumbbells at home, you're using your dumbbells, those are the steps that you can take to start stimulating muscle preservation and muscle growth. And if you make the dietary changes that I mentioned, you will see some fat loss, but you will lose just fat. You won't lose muscle. Muscle is important for burning glucose. So if you lose weight too quickly, you can lose some muscle. And if you lose muscle, you lose some of your ability to metabolize glucose. So we want to work on preserving muscle mass as much as possible. We don't want to lose weight too quickly. So that is always the danger with extreme fasting. Okay, so make the changes I talked about with the nutrition. You will notice some weight loss if you do it the right way, and start lifting some weights or use resistance bands, and you will see a difference in your blood sugars. Now, I can't stress enough, the next thing you have to do is evaluate your habits. And you're going to have to start making new habits. So the habits that I talk about frequently and tend to be underrated: sleep. I'm sure you've heard this, but sleep is the time when our bodies heal. Sleep is when our bodies build muscle. Sleep is really essential. It's restorative. So we want to make sure we're getting enough sleep so that we are balancing our hormones. Because if we're not sleeping, it means we're stressed. And when we're stressed, our hormones go out of whack, and then there comes insulin resistance. So sleep is important. You want to get at least 7 to 9 hours of sleep. So if you find yourself scrolling into the night, I suggest, have a hard cutoff time. If 9 o'clock is your bedtime, then you stop scrolling at 8 o'clock, and you give yourself an hour before that 9 o'clock time to just unwind. You can do something that's relaxing, like read, meditate, pray. So it's really important to make sure you're making time to sleep. It's really, really, really critical part of getting your blood sugars controlled. Other habits that you should be building into your lifestyle is walking. You're going to hear that from me time and time and time again. If you walk throughout the day, you walk after every meal, or you walk, twice a day, morning, evening, or you just get a long walk in the morning, early morning, late evening, then you'll find it makes a difference with your blood sugar. So walking is 1000% important in order to achieve insulin sensitivity, to restore insulin sensitivity. Now, the other habit that is important is hydrate, drinking water. Okay, I have my water here. I sip as I go through, my day. So it's really important to have your water with you at all time, to be sipping at all times, so that you have enough water in your body to drive your metabolism, to drive your bodily functions, to make hormones, to hydrate your organs. So water is a critical component when it comes to being healthy overall, to detoxing your body. So it's really important, and I can't stress that enough. So make that a habit that you're hydrating. And so those are the big habits that I say, you should start with. There are a few other habits that I will, mention later on, but this is a good starting point. Sleep, hydration, and walking are three habits that you should absolutely make an everyday an everyday effort to do. Now, the last thing in order to reverse prediabetes, type 2 diabetes, is to make sure you're getting your information from the right sources. What I tend to see a lot is that when you're doing it on your own, you're doing extreme fasting. Okay, there was one person who left a comment on my page that was advising, a 24-hour fast or something, like that. And then as you are fasting, you'll be drinking a series of teas, and there's no doubt you're going to have rapid weight loss if you keep that up, but you are losing muscle when you do that. So when you lose weight, you're losing fat and muscle, critical, precious muscle. You are wearing down your metabolism. You are ramping up your cravings. So fasting, you have to make sure that the sources that you're listening to are reputable sources, and sources that are telling you to do something that's sustainable. Okay, because what ends up happening is you do this fast for a week or two, you might see some results, but after that week, you just can't keep it up anymore. Your appetite comes back with a vengeance. And as your appetite kicks in, you give in to the cravings, your blood sugar spikes through the roof. So it's really, really important to make sure you're getting your information from a reputable source, reputable guidance. Okay. And so that is why I established the Reverse Her Challenge. It is there for women, busy women who are really determined to reverse prediabetes and type 2 diabetes sustainably and naturally, and to do it rapidly. Okay, so we're not doing the troubleshooting. We're going straight for the right information and the right strategies. So with that, that is it for tonight. And now I open up the floor to anyone who has questions. Thank you so much, Sheila. Thanks, Demetrius and G Rocks, for joining. I appreciate you watching. Do you have any questions, or is there anything that, any comment that you want to make? Okay. So with that, if nobody has any additional comments, nobody has any questions, then I will close for the night. If you want that one-on-one support, if you want to find out more about the Reverse Her Challenge and what we do, and how we do it. So it looks like Sheila wants to join in. So, and Sheila, did you have any question? So if you have any, if you want that one-on-one guidance, then the link is in my bio. So just click the link, and I will, we can definitely share more about the Reverse Her Challenge. It's an initiative, a 12-week initiative that's meant to get your blood sugars down, get your A1C down, and get you feeling better. All right. If nobody has any questions, then I will go ahead and close off. All right. Good night, everyone.